Enter into the world of L36 and dive into the power of storytelling. Here at L36, we bring together a community to discover what captivating tales can teach us, and use the adventure to inspire greater insight into mental well-being. Join us for an enriching exploration. What is codependency, and how can we leverage cinema to comprehend such deep psychological phenomena? Besides being one of the greatest movies of the past decades, Thelma and Louise can help you spot whether you're codependent in your relationships. Make sure to stay until the end, as we will review films that deal with codependency and tips to overcome it. Let's begin. Thelma and Louise. In Thelma and Louise, we follow two female friends dominated by men. Louise, played by Susan Sarandon, is codependent on her boyfriend, a musician who's always on the road. On her part, Thelma is married to Daryl and highly dependent on him. He watches football and she stays in the kitchen type of relationship. One day, they decide to break out of their lives and hit the road. But things escalate quickly and they soon find themselves in the middle of a killing spree. They try to flee to Mexico, but the police have a different plan: to chase them down. Now, if you haven't watched the movie, here's a spoiler warning. In the end, both girls escape and are free from the chains of their mundane lives. It was one of the most popular movies at the time, nominated over 50 times and receiving 25 awards. But what does it teach us about codependency? To understand this, we first need to define codependency. When you're codependent, you prioritize the needs of others above your own. Codependency means changing your behavior to match the other person's behavior. It also means giving up on your needs to meet the demands of your loved one. Does that sound familiar? According to Jonathan Becker, an associate professor at Vanderbilt University, in a codependent relationship, your mood, happiness, and identity are defined by the other person. There's usually one person who is more passive and can't make decisions for themselves, and a more dominant personality who gets some reward and satisfaction from controlling the other person and making decisions about how they will live. Codependency often leads to disconnecting from your own desires and needs, promoting unhealthy relationship dynamics, and affecting your overall well-being and self-worth. While you can deny the problem and convince yourself otherwise, the chances are that you're losing your identity and individuality in the process. Think about it for a second. What do you get out of changing who you are to meet the other person's expectations? Codependency versus dependency. Before diving into the signs of a codependent relationship, let's make a distinction between two terms: codependency and dependency. While it can be easy to mistake the two, they're slightly different. Dependency is normal and healthy in every relationship to some degree. An interdependent relationship is one in which both members care about the other person and are considerate of their needs and emotions. There's nothing wrong with loving and needing your partner. As social creatures, we depend on others by default if we want to survive. It's perfectly valid to want love and security from your loved one, as long as it doesn't result in controlling behavior and unhealthy patterns. Signs you're codependent. How does one know they're codependent in their relationship? Sometimes the signs and red flags are easy to spot, but more often than not, the codependent individual doesn't realize it. While it's rare, codependency can happen with friends and family too, not only with romantic and sexual partners. That makes it even more challenging to spot the signs. Let's review some indications by using a few examples from the film Thelma and Louise. Stay tuned, as some of these might surprise you. Number 1. Walking on eggshells. In the movie, Thelma behaves carefully around her husband. During the first scenes, we can see how she anticipates everything to avoid getting into a fight. She sets his tie, prepares coffee, avoids topics he doesn't like, and so on. Avoiding acts that may trigger a negative response from your partner is alright, even a smart thing to do. But the problem arises when you always walk on eggshells and don't know when the other person is about to explode. Often, codependent people don't want to lose the other person and thus sacrifice themselves, but the situation can lead to losing your personality and self-worth in the process. Number 2. Apologizing to maintain peace. We see Louise wipe her tears and ask her boyfriend to forget about some incidents. Forget about it, it was stupid. Have you ever been in her position? If you're always the one giving in and trying to maintain peace in your relationship, it may be time to step back and think things through. Codependent people often avoid conflicts and problems to please the other person. The last thing they want is to disrupt their peace and have an argument. They don't want to risk losing them, but they forget that repressing emotions and thoughts can lead to resentment and even mental health issues. Number 3. Intense fear of being alone. No one likes to be alone, but we must learn how to do so. You're the only person that will stand by your side no matter what. If you don't know how to be happy by yourself, you risk entering a relationship with an abusive partner. Sometimes you're not even conscious that they're manipulating you, but that doesn't make it any better. Fear of being alone is one of the leading risk factors for mental health issues and abusive relationships. And that's why therapists help patients work on their fears and build stronger self-esteem. Number 4, feeling guilty after spending time with yourself or friends. One of the most alarming signs of being in an abusive relationship is feeling guilty for spending time alone and having fun. Do you fear the other person and what they might say? That's a terrible sign. Take this as an example in Thelma and Louise. After Thelma spent some time with her new friend, her husband Daryl makes the following remark. "That Louise is nothing but a bad influence. If you're not back here by tonight, Thelma, well, then I just don't want to say." Besides Daryl's evident need for control, this behavior forces Thelma into feeling guilty for spending time with others and not focusing on her one and only. As humans, we deserve to have hobbies and interests outside of our relationships. In fact, it's healthy. I encourage you to engage in your favorite activities every other day. Number 5, control and manipulation. In the previous example, Daryl was manipulative with Thelma. Unfortunately, she's not the only female manipulated in the movie. There's one scene in which Louise calls Jimmy for the first time after leaving home with Thelma. His immediate answer is, "Louise, you just tell me what the hell is going on right this second." And, "What the f*** is going on here, Louise? I come back and you are gone, no one knows where." As if that wasn't enough, he breaks glasses and throws tables around in another scene because he suspects Louise is cheating. After the outburst, he blocks her attempt to leave and apologizes sincerely. Does that ring a bell? Apologizing and putting on a show after violent outrages is often a sign of emotional abuse. If someone hurts you and then apologizes but keeps repeating the same mistakes, maybe they're not truly sorry. It's one thing to make an honest mistake and learn, and another to continue hurting the one you supposedly love. That's why it's important to know your worth and stand up when another person disrespects you and your boundaries. While there are a lot of signs and symptoms that indicate you may be in a codependent relationship with a lover or friend, these are the most common ones. Also, Thelma and Louise is not the first or last time that films represent codependency. Other examples in movies. In Fatal Attraction, a 1987 psychological thriller, the main character Dan meets again with a woman he had an affair with a long time ago. But now, this woman Alex is not ready to let him move on. She resorts to extremes to keep him by her side. The film explores the dangers of infidelity and jealousy. Alex is codependent and can't shake the thought of not having Dan for herself. As one can expect, things go wrong. Codependency is never healthy, no matter the circumstances. It always leads to being unhappy in the relationship even when one thinks they're coping okay. How to overcome codependency. So, as we approach the end of this video, I want to share with you some tips to overcoming codependency and recovering your true self. Number 1. Therapy. Sometimes one person alone can't overcome their own feelings of low self-esteem, fear of being alone, lack of assertiveness, and more. That's when reaching out for help and having a professional by your side can make an immense difference. They will teach you why you behave the way you do and strategies to build healthier behaviors. The first step towards making a change is understanding oneself. Also, you can try couples counseling if the other person is willing to change too. From my experience, I think it's best to work on yourself first, but whatever works best for you. It's your healing journey, and you're the one who makes the calls. Number 2. Set healthy boundaries. A competent therapist will teach you how to set healthy boundaries that avoid manipulation and overall emotional discomfort. You need to learn to say no when things get uncomfortable or unfair. Yes, that will trigger your fear of abandonment, but let me tell you something. If you can't express your feelings out of fear that the other person will leave you, then it may be time to dump them. True love means respecting your significant other enough to listen to them and be kind. If someone dismisses you or is disrespectful, maybe they don't deserve a place in your heart. Number 3. Conscious love. My last piece of advice is to read this book by Gay Hendricks. This program helps you get rid of unconscious behaviors and patterns that are damaging your relationship. Gay and Kathleen Hendricks have been together for more than 20 years. All that time has been enough to develop strategies and techniques to improve the quality of your relationship. When you finish reading this book, you'll feel capable of letting go of power and the need for control, balancing closeness and separateness, increasing intimacy with your partner, setting healthy boundaries, and communicating in a positive way, and more. Hopefully, this video helped you understand better the phenomenon of codependency. Louise and Thelma made it in the end. They got rid of their abusive relationships and regained their freedom. If you relate to the story, it may be time to begin working on yourself and your relationships with others. Although it's a tough journey, it's worth it in the end. Good luck and subscribe for more content like this. Please like and subscribe to our channel. In addition, join the L36 community via the link below. Consider becoming a member for an opportunity to inform the creative process of filmmaking here at L36 Media. All film lovers are welcome. Together, we can tell stories that matter.